Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's session also we'll continue with the discussion of signals. Okay, the concept is the sig set jump and then sig long jump APIs. Okay, so these two APIs are similar to set jump and then long jump APIs, which we have already discussed in the previous module. Okay, so here the set jump and then the sig set jump both has the similar functionality. So both are used to mark one or more locations in the user program. Okay, so as I said, sig set jump and then sig long jump are similar to set jump and long jump APIs respectively. So specifically the set jump and then sig set jump, so these two APIs are used to mark one or more locations, okay, in the user program. Whereas long jump and sig long jump APIs, these two APIs are used in order to return to the marked location later. So these are used to return to the location later. Okay. So this is about the sig set jump and then sig long jump API. So the prototype is like this. We have the include statement, that is signal.h, and then the API name sig set jump. It has got two arguments. So this is similar to set jump, but it has got one more extra argument. So this is save underscore sig mask. Okay, and then again sig long jump. So this API, again it has got two arguments here. So these two APIs are mainly used for signal mask processing. So these two APIs are used for signal mask processing. Okay, and also it is implementation dependent whether a process signal mask has to be saved and restored within the program. Okay, so as I said, this sig set jump and then sig long jump are used to save the process signal mask and then the restore that process signal mask later. So that can be done by using sig set jump and then sig long jump. So these two APIs are used for signal mask processing, but that saving and then restoring of that process signal mask is implementation dependent. Okay, so as I said, here we have two arguments and the return type is integer. Okay, int. So integer means it returns the value, the corresponding value where the set jump has been marked. Okay, and similarly the long jump, that means if this is executed successfully, it returns a value where that corresponding set jump value has been returned, that means restored. Okay, so let us look into the arguments. We have env, the environment argument, the first argument, and the second one save sig mask. So the second argument decides, it's an integer value, it decides whether the calling process signal mask has to be saved in environment variable or not. Okay, suppose this is a non-zero value, only in that case this process signal mask will be saved in the environment variable. Okay, suppose it is 0, in that case that process signal mask will not be stored in this environment variable. So next sig long jump, again it has got two arguments, one is environment variable and the second one is return value. So this return value corresponds to the return value of the sig set jump API. Okay, so this will be, if this is a non-zero argument or non-zero value, in that case the process signal mask which is already stored in this environment variable will be restored. Okay, I will repeat once again. So this corresponds to the return value of the sig set jump API. Suppose this value is non-zero, if this has got the non-zero value, in that case the process signal mask which is already stored in the environment variable will be restored. Okay, So this is about the sig set jump and then sig long jump. Now let us write a program that illustrates the usage of these two APIs. So this program, it has the include statements like iostream.h, signal.h and then setjump.h. Okay, so here I have not written hash include. Anyways, you already know that how we can include the header files and everything. And we have declared a global variable called env, which is of type sigjump_buffer. Okay, so this is a global variable. And next we have written a user defined function that is call me function. So actually basically it works like a signal handling function for this program. Okay, so now let us see what we have written inside this call me function. It has got the argument signal number. Okay, and here we are printing catch signal, that particular signal number, so nothing but the signal. Okay, inside that we are calling the function sig long jump. Okay, so sig long jump with the two arguments, the first one the environment variable and the second one the return value we are passing 2 here. Okay, so next I will tell you why we are passing 2 later. Okay, in the main function we have declared signal mask. Okay, and then action and old action, which is of type struct sig action. Okay, so here first we are calling the API sig empty set. So sig empty set, what it will do, it will clear all the bit flags within the signal mask. Okay, so right now we are clearing all the bit flags within this signal mask. And next we are calling the API sig add set, and we are trying to add the signal sig term to this signal mask. Okay, so this we have already discussed in the previous session itself. We are trying to add the sig term, the termination, process termination signal that is represented by the signal number as SIGTERM. Okay, so this is added to the signal mask, and we are checking if it is executed successfully, it returns 0, otherwise -1, right? So we are just checking the condition here, or what we are checking, sig pros mask. Okay, with the sig set mask and then sig mask comma 0. So we have already discussed about this API, that is sig pros mask. Okay, in the previous session itself. So it has got 3 arguments. So out of this, the first value specifies that the new mask, signal mask, that means the new set of signals should be added to the already existing signal mask. Okay, so now for this calling process we have added sig term into the signal mask, and already there will be already a set of signals that are blocked for that process, right? So those are nothing but the available signal mask, and along with the signal mask we are adding the sig term also. Okay, and we are checking whether it is executed successfully or not. If there is any error, it returns -1. Okay, so in either of these conditions, that is sig add set or sig pros mask, okay, in that case if it is -1, then we are printing the error message set signal mask error. Okay, otherwise if it is executed successfully, the control comes here. So again we are clearing the SA mask, so that is the additional signal mask, okay, for the action variable. So again we have discussed about this in the previous session when we were discussing about the sig action API. Okay, so we are clearing that, the additional signal mask, and then we are setting this additional signal mask with the signal SIGSEGB. So it gets the default action here. So this signal is for segmentation fault. Okay, so this will be added to the additional signal mask, that is SA underscore mask, that is available for this struct sig action variable. Okay, so next SA handler, so that means the signal action handler, we are making use of call me function. So as I said, call me function is a user defined function, so it acts like a signal handling function here. So that's why we are assigning this to the signal handler. Okay, and next SA underscore flag is initialized to 0. and this also I have already told you in the previous session itself. The possible values for SA flag will be 0 or SA underscore no CLD set. Okay, so value I am initializing it to 0. So it indicates that if the child process gets terminated or stopped, then the parent process will be notified by the signal. Okay, so 0 of this SA flag indicates that. Okay, so next what we are doing, we are calling the function sig action function, and we are passing the argument sig int, so that is a signal number, and then we are passing the action, okay, and then the old action, and we are checking whether it is equal to -1. If there is any error, what will happen? This function returns -1. In that case, we are printing the error message saying that sig action error. Okay. Suppose if it is executed successfully, what will happen? We have created a signal handler for the signal, that is SIG int. Okay. So how we have created the signal handler? By using this action variable. Okay. So after this, next step is we are calling the function sig set jump. Okay. So we are calling this API sig set jump environment comma 1. So this indicates that the signal process mask has to be stored in the environment variable. Suppose if it is not equal to 0, okay, suppose if it is not equal to 0, I am printing that return from signal interruption. Okay. If it is not equal to 0, so that indicates we have returned from the signal interruption. Some signal interruption has happened and we have returned from it. Okay. So, and then we have to stop the execution of the program. So, program control has to terminate here. So, that is why we are representing the return 0. So, otherwise that means if it is 0, so this returns 0, in that case we are checking return from first time sig set jump is called. So, first time when this sig set jump is called, so that time it returns 0. Which returns 0? The sig set jump returns 0. And then we are invoking this pause API. So, this will wait for the interruption signal from the keyboard. Okay. So, actually how it works means, so we have through this program we have added the signal sig term to the signal mask. So, that is the first task. Okay. And then we have created a signal handler for this sig int. Okay. And third step, we are trying to save the location within this program by using sig set jump, by saving the process signal mask here by passing 1. So, it will be saved into the environment variable. Anyways, during the first time execution, so it will return 0. Okay. Since it will return 0, so what will happen? The condition will be, the control will come here. So, return from the first time sig set jump will be called. So, again when it is executed, again when the program executed, in this case second time it will be executing. So, when there is an interruption from the keyboard, so that is nothing but the sig int signal will be generated. Okay. So, interruption from the keyboard means which signal will be notified? So, SIG int. So, what is the corresponding signal handler for SIG int? The signal handler for SIG int is call me. So, this function, the control comes here. So, now it prints catch signal followed by the signal number, and then this sig long jump will be executed. So, as I said earlier, the functionality of sig long jump is to restore the marked location which was marked by the set jump, right. So, in this case we are passing 2 because already in the first case this returns 0. So, anyways that is why I can't send the value as 0. Okay. So, I need the return type of this, I mean the return value of this. So, second time when it is executed, of course it does not return 0. So, 1 will be there, and again when this interruption will happen, in that case it has to be executed, right. So, for that reason we are passing 2 here. Okay. So, actually sig set jump will be executed 2 times here. In the first case it returns 0, so this will be executed. In the second time it does not return 0, it returns some value. So, for that case it will be printing this return from signal interruption, and in the third case, I mean repeatedly when there is an interruption from the keyboard, this will be invoked. At that time the corresponding location will be restored once again. So here location is nothing but actually we are saving the process signal mask. So the corresponding process signal mask will be restored. Okay. So this is the importance of this sig-set jump and then sig-long jump API. Okay. So now let's move on to the next concept. The next concept is kill API. Okay. So next concept is kill API. So the process can send a signal to the related process by using a kill API. So if a process wants to notify its related process, then it can make use of the kill API. Okay. So it provides a simple means of inter-process communication. Since it is communicating with the related process, we can say that it in a simpler way, it is providing a inter-process communication. So here, so the processes, that means the sender and the recipient process, both the processes should be related to each other, such as the sender process effective user ID and then the real user ID should match with the recipient process, or else the sender process must have the super user privilege. Okay. Only if the sender and the receiver process are related, only in that case the sender process can send the signal by using this kill API. Okay. So for example, parent and child process can communicate with each other by using the kill API because they will be related to each other. Okay. So the prototype is like this. It has got the include statements with statement with signal.h header file, and name of the function is kill. Okay. It has got 2 arguments and the return type is integer. So if this executed successfully, it returns 0. If there is any error, it returns -1. So out of these 2 arguments, the first one is the PID and the second one is the signal num. So actually in the first class itself I have told you that signal num is nothing but the integer flag for each of the signal that is available under signal.h header file, right? So here this indicates that, so signal num is the argument or the signal that has to be sent to the processes that is identified by the PID argument. Okay, I will repeat once again. So the second argument signal num is nothing but it identifies or specifies the signal that has to be sent to the process that is identified by the PID, the first argument. Okay. So the possible values of PID are like this, and let us see what is the effect of these PID values on the kill API. Okay. Suppose the PID has got the positive value. In that case, this signal num will be sent to the process with the process ID PID. Okay. So here the signal num will be sent to the process that is identified by the PID if this PID value is a positive value. Okay. Suppose it is 0, if it is 0, in that case signal will be sent to the all the processes whose process group ID matches with the calling process or nothing but the sending process. Okay. So it will be sent to the all the processes whose process group ID match with the calling process. Okay. So let us say if the value is -1, if the PID value is -1, in that case signal num, so the signals, it will be sent to the processes whose real user ID is same as that of the effective user ID of the calling process. So I will repeat once again, if the PID value is -1, in that case signal num will be sent to the all the processes whose real user ID is same as that of the effective user ID of the calling process. Okay. Suppose the calling process has got the super user ID, in that case this signal num will be sent to all processes except the process with the ID 0 and 1. Okay. So it will be sent to all processes if the calling process has got the super user ID. Okay. So next, negative value. So in this case if the PID has got some negative value, in this case the signal num will be sent to all the processors whose process group ID is same as that of the absolute value of PID. Okay, absolute, that means the positive value of the PID. So absolute value means any value without the negative value, that means the positive value is taken as absolute value. Suppose this has got some negative value, in that case, so the signal num will be sent to all the processors whose process will be sent to all the processors whose process group ID is same as that of the absolute value of PID. Okay, so here don't get confused with this one. If the value is 0, the signal num will be sent to all the processors whose process group ID is same as that of the calling process. But in this case, the signal num will be sent to all the processors whose process group ID is same as that of the absolute value of the PID. Okay, so this is about the kill API. So now let's discuss a program. So in this program, it has got the include statements. I have not written here directly, I have written the main function. Okay, so in the main function, we are passing the command line argument. So here the command line arguments will be like this. So we'll be passing the command name followed by hyphen the signal number. So this signal number is nothing but the signal number value that is saved under signal.h. In the first class I have told you, right, that signal flag or nothing but the signal number are nothing but the integer flags that are saved under signal.h. For example, SIG INT, SIG SEGV, like that. Okay, so that will be sent here followed by the PID. So PID is an integer value, it represents the process ID. Okay, so the input will be sent like this. Okay, so minimum it has got the 3 arguments. Okay, so maximum it can send multiple process IDs. Okay, so in the program we are passing the command line arguments, and these are the inputs that are given through the command line. So here we have declared a PID which is of type integer, and then sig which is of type sig term. Okay, so we are checking if the argument count is 3. So this will work only if minimum value of the arguments should be 3 arguments, right, because the command followed by the signal number followed by the PID. So that's why the minimum value is 3. Only in that case, if it is 3, we are checking the condition scanf. Actually scanf is similar to scanf function, but here it reads the input from the formatted string. Okay, so instead of the standard input, for example, when we are using the scanf statement, we will read the input from the standard input like keyboard, where in case of scanf we read the input from the formatted string. Okay, so here, so we are reading that formatted string, so nothing but the signal number. Okay, and then we are checking here, so %d and then ampersand signal. Okay, so we are reading that %d because actually we already know that this signal num, okay, this signal num is nothing but the integer value. Okay, so %d ampersand sig. Okay, suppose if it is not equal to 1, in that case there is some error. So this returns 1 if it is executed successfully, otherwise error. Okay, so if it is not equal to 1, in that case I am just printing the error message saying that invalid number. Okay, so then return -1. So the program will terminate here itself. Okay, so next I am incrementing the argument vector ++, so it will be pointing here, next it will point here. Okay, and then argument count will be reduced because I have already read this argument, so argument count will be reduced now. So this is with this condition. Next I am checking while argument count greater than 0. Okay, this I will tell later because I have to apply this set of statements for all the process IDs that are passed here, right. So that's why I am checking the condition while --argc is greater than 0. So that means I have to apply this for all the process IDs. Okay, for all the process IDs that is sent through the command line argument. So I am just checking that condition here. Again I am reading if scanf *++argv, so that means here this value percentage d and ampersand PID. Since PID is the integer, so percentage d comma ampersand PID. So here the PID will be sent here, so that will be read. Okay. So if it is 1, that means if it is executed successfully. So it returns 1 if it is executed successfully. So what I am doing here, we are calling the kill API, saying that for this particular PID call this SIG. Okay, for this particular PID call this SIG. So I am invoking this kill API. Kill will return 0 if it is executed successfully, -1 if there is any error. So I am just checking here. If this is returning -1, I am printing P error kill. Okay. So this is for scanf function. Suppose there is some error with scanf, that means while reading this PID, suppose there is an error, I am printing the C error, that is the error message in the else part, saying that invalid PID. Okay, invalid PID, like that I am printing here. So here this program, it expects an integer signal flag from the input here. Suppose if it is not sent, suppose there is an error, or suppose there is some mismatch with this symbolic name with this signal number, in that case by default this sig term will be assigned and the process will be continued. Okay. So through this program what we are doing, we are invoking the kill command with the two values, that is signal number and the PID. Suppose both signal number and PID should be of type integer, and the signal should contain the possible signal flag values which we have already discussed in the first class itself, like SIG TERM, SIG INT, or SIG SEGV, like that. Okay. So such signal flags has to be sent here. If there is any problem with this, that means if the user has not given the proper input for the signal number, in that case, so by default sig term will be assigned here. Okay. So actually sig term means which type of signal? The process termination signal. Okay. Suppose the given signal number is valid, and also we have to check here. Okay. So we are checking, we are reading the PID. If there is any error with the PID, I am printing this. If there is no error with the PID, so it returns 1. In that case, I am making use of the kill API. For this PID, I am invoking this, I am passing this signal. Okay. So this is about the kill API. So now let's move on to the next concept. Next concept is alarm API. Okay. So this alarm API, actually a process will request the kernel to send the SIGALRN signal after certain real clock seconds. Okay. So that signal is nothing but the alarm API. So that can be done by using alarm API. So I will repeat once again. Suppose the process wants to get the signal, that means the process will request the kernel to send SIGALRM signal after certain real number, after certain number of real clock seconds. Okay. So then the process can make use of alarm API. So actually this is something similar to the alarm clock, where like we will set a reminder saying that after some time something has to be notified or some action has to be notified. Okay. So the alarm API works similar to the normal alarm clock. So this is the prototype. We have the signal.h and then the alarm API, and this is the return type unsigned int, and this is the argument unsigned int time interval. So the argument specifies the number of CPU elapsed time, okay, in seconds. So that means for how many, after how many seconds this has to send the signal, so that will be passed as the argument here. Okay. Whereas the return type, the unsigned int, so this represents the CPU seconds. So that is left over in the timer. So that is left over in the timer. I will repeat once again. So the argument is nothing but the number of CPU elapsed time. Okay. So that is set in the timer. Whereas the return type is nothing but the CPU seconds that is left over in the timer for the alarm. Okay. So here if the time interval is 0, so then the alarm will be reset to 0. So that means the alarm signal will not be generated. Okay. So now let us discuss about this alarm API by using one program. So here the alarm function can be used to implement the sleep API. Okay, so generally the sleep API, it is used to suspend the execution of the process for certain amount of time, for certain time interval. Okay, so here the include statement, we have written one wake up function. Okay, next sleep function. Actually we are just calling this wake up function, we are not writing any code here. Okay, then we are writing the sleep function. So here we are making use of the action which is of type sig action, and we have the SA handler. Okay, and then SA flag initialized to 0. For this handler we are invoking this wake up function, and here we are clearing all the signal mask before itself, and then we are calling this sig action function, and we are passing the alarm SIGALRM. So the signal is SIGALRM alarm signal, and we are checking whether if it is -1. If it is -1, some error, so I am printing the error message. Otherwise what will happen? So this will be executed. So this will be executed, and here that means for sig alarm, so wake up function is invoked because the action has got the signal handler as wake up. Okay, so if for this signal wake up function will be executed. So here after this we are just calling the alarm API, we are passing the timer. So actually here timer is nothing but the particular time interval, so after which this will call the SIG alarm signal. Okay, so in other words this will request the kernel to send the SIGALRM signal to the process. Okay, so then we are making use of pause. Actually how it works means, so it will be in the sleep condition. So when this alarm API is invoked, in that case it passes the timer, particular time interval. So after this many time interval, so it invokes this SIGALRM. So the kernel will send this signal. Actually this signal has got the signal handling function, wake up function. So then the process will be awakened. Okay, so since the alarm has got the return type unsigned int, so left hand side I am just typecasting it to void. Okay, so this is about the implementation of alarm API by using this sleep function. So actually BSD Unix supports one more API instead of alarm API, that is U alarm API. Okay, so the prototype, everything is similar to that of the alarm API, but the only difference is here the interval time. Okay, the time interval and the CPU clock seconds, everything will be in terms of microseconds instead of seconds, will be in microseconds instead of seconds. Okay, and also this BSD Unix supports uSleep function, which is similar to the sleep function. Okay, but the difference is here the process will be suspended, I mean the execution of the process will be suspended for the specified number of time. So the time will be specified in microseconds. Okay, so that's all for today's session. Hope you have understood all the concepts. Thank you.